All right, Tiberius Lightbringer, you bloody, magnificent, shiny, plate-wearing dwarf, you're at the start of an adventure. So buckle up because this campaign's going to roast you one way or another. Now, pay attention. I've got the setting for you. The desert heat clings to you like that guilt you carry around for stealing that extra pint at the tavern. It's relentless, pounding at you with each gust of wind that sweeps across the arid plains of Merchant's Pass. The sprawling city of Lescure, the pulsing heart of Olmundi's desert trade, stands before you just a mile away. Its gates, adorned with intricate carvings of sand drakes and serpents, shimmer in the sunlight. The hum of life spills forth beyond the sandstone walls, the rumble of trading carts, the shouts of merchants peddling their wares, and perhaps the occasional heated argument. Welcome to the chaos, my friend. To your right, a caravan of traders trudges toward the city with wagons rattling noisily. The figures are cloaked in fabrics dyed in dazzling colors, reds, golds, and deep blues, as an effort to fight the sun and look fancy doing it. Among them, a grizzled-looking human with a wicked scar across his cheek glares out at anyone who gets close. An easy man to muck things up with. Ahead of you, near the gates, you spot a pair of guards in leather armor. They're idly chatting, their spears planted firmly into the ground. They don't seem particularly alert, one picking at his teeth absent-mindedly while the other watches the passing caravan. A moment later, you hear the frantic cry of a child. Turning your attention to the west, down a narrow, dusty path leading away from the city, you see a halfling boy no older than 8 sprinting toward you, waving his arms frantically. His clothes are tattered, his face stained with tears and sand. Please, he shouts, his voice cracking, help, my ma and pa, they need help. I don't know what else to do. He collapses onto the sand a few paces in front of you, breathing heavily. The sun beats down on your brilliant armor, but it feels heavier right now, doesn't it? The weight of choice, that expectation you're a bloody paladin after all. How are you going to handle this one? What would you like to do?
You kneel, your polished plate armor reflecting the harsh sunlight, causing the boy to squint as he looks up at you. The sand grinds under your knee, but you ignore the discomfort, focusing on the desperate halfling before you. You rummage through your pack, retrieve a water skin, and offer it to him. He eyes the skin warily for a moment, then snatches it from your hand, gulping down the water with a desperation that makes your throat clench. The water dribbles down his chin, mixing with the grime on his face. When he finally pulls the skin away, he gasps for air, his little chest heaving.
Thank you, sir.
He manages to choke out, his voice still thick with tears.
There, lad. Easy now. Tell me what's happened. How can I help?
He wipes his nose with the back of his hand, leaving a streak of mud across his cheek.
It's my ma and pa, sir. We were traveling to Lescure to sell some goods. We were ambushed on the road, not too far from here. By goblins, I think. They dragged my parents off into the rocks. I managed to get away, but...
He breaks down again, sobbing uncontrollably.
I don't know what to do. They'll hurt them. You're a knight, right? Please, sir, you have to help them.
You get the feeling that the boy is telling you the truth, but you can't be too sure. Roll a wisdom insight. Check to see if you believe that the boy is telling you the truth, Tiberius. Your wisdom modifier is 1.
With a roll of 5, you struggle to get a solid read on the boy, Tiberius. The lad is clearly distressed, that much is obvious. The tears, the trembling, the sheer panic in his eyes, it all seems genuine enough. But beneath the surface, a flicker of something unreadable dances in his gaze. Maybe it's just the fear, maybe it's something else entirely. The boy's story sounds plausible enough. Goblins preying on travelers aren't exactly unheard of in these parts. It's hard to say with any certainty what's really going on here. Something feels off, but you can't put your finger on it. Do you trust the boy and risk running headfirst into a trap? Or do you take his story with a grain of salt and proceed with caution? What do you do next, Tiberius? All right, you decide to proceed with caution. A wise move, considering you're not dealing with a Sunday roast. Now, let's see if you can find anything interesting around here. Roll a wisdom perception check to scan the area. Your wisdom modifier is 1-1. Damn, that's a bloody awful roll. With a roll of 1, Tiberius, your attempt to scan the area is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Your gaze sweeps over the landscape, but you see absolutely nothing of note. The rocks look like rocks, the sand looks like sand, and the distant city looks, well, like a distant city. The traders don't look to be hiding anything from you either. You don't notice any signs of an ambush, no telltale tracks, no glint of metal in the sun, nothing to suggest the boy's story is anything but truth or anything other than a complete lie. The kid remains at your feet, staring up at you with those wide, pleading eyes, probably thinking, what's taking this useless dwarf so long? You didn't learn anything from your scan, so do you help him? Or do you just carry on your journey and leave him there? What do you do next, Tiberius? All right, Tiberius, you decide to trust the boy and help him. Let's see if this pans out better than your perception.
All right, lad.
You say, your voice firm.
I'll help you find your parents. Take me to where it happened, but understand this. If you're leading me into a trap, you'll have me to answer to.
The boy nods eagerly, scrambling to his feet.
Yes, sir. Thank you, thank you. It's this way. Follow me.
He turns and begins to run back down the path, glancing back every few seconds to make sure you're keeping up. The path is narrow and winding, cutting through a landscape of rocky outcroppings and sparse vegetation. The sun beats down mercilessly, and you can feel the sweat gathering beneath your armor. After about 10 minutes of brisk walking, the boy suddenly stops, pointing towards a cluster of large boulders.
This is it, sir. This is where they ambushed us.
As you approach the boulders, you begin to notice signs of a struggle. A broken wagon wheel lies on its side, its spokes splintered and cracked. Scraps of fabric are scattered amongst the rocks, and a few dark stains mar the sand. The air is thick with the coppery tang of blood.
They dragged them that way.
The boy exclaims, pointing towards a narrow crevice between 2 of the larger boulders.
I saw them. Please, sir, we have to hurry.
You see a few goblins' tracks leading into the crevice, but you also see the faint outline of human footprints mixed in with the goblins. It's possible that the goblins were trading with someone. What do you do next, Tiberius? You plant your feet, towering over the boy, your scowl like a thundercloud gathering on your face.
Hold up, lad. Enough is enough. Those are human footprints mixed in with the goblins' tracks. What's really going on here, boy? Spill it now before I lose my patience.
Roll a charisma, intimidation. Check to see if you can scare the kid into telling you the truth. Your charisma modifier is +2. Also, you are proficient in intimidation, so you get to add your proficiency bonus to the roll. Since you are level 5, your proficiency bonus is +3. Your total bonus to the roll is +5. The lad shrinks under your glare, his eyes wide with terror. With a roll of 11, your attempt at intimidation is partially successful.
He stammers, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I swear!
But his voice wavers and he avoids your gaze, fidgeting nervously. The sweat on his brow glistens in the sunlight. You get the distinct impression that he's holding something back, but he's not about to crack completely. He's scared, but he's also stubborn.
Look, boy.
You growl, your voice low and dangerous.
I'm not stupid. There are human footprints there, clear as day. Now I'm only going to ask you one more time. What aren't you telling me?
He hesitates for a long moment, chewing on his lip. Finally, he blurts out,
Okay, it's not just goblins, sir. There were some men with them. I don't know who they were, but they were helping the goblins. They were wearing masks.
What do you say, Tiberius?
I already knew that from the footprints, boy.
You say, your voice dripping with disdain.
Why did you not tell me the truth? Who are these men? What do they want with your parents?
You try to get the kid to crack under more pressure. Roll a charisma persuasion check to see if you can get the boy to tell you everything he knows. Your charisma modifier is +2. Also, you are proficient in persuasion, so you get to add your proficiency bonus to the roll. Since you are level 5, your proficiency bonus is +3. Your total bonus to the roll is +5.
With a roll of 24, the boy finally breaks down completely, Tiberius.
Tears stream down his face as he spills the truth, his words tumbling over each other in his haste to explain.
I didn't want to say anything because I was scared, sir. Please don't hurt me. The men, they're from the Emberden Corsairs. They're pirates, sir, but they don't usually come this far inland. They must be scouting. My pa, he used to work for them years ago. He knows secrets, things they don't want anyone else to know. He left them and he thought they'd forgotten about him, but...
The boy sobs again, unable to continue. After a moment, you say sternly,
What secrets? What does your father know that the Corsairs want?
The boy sniffles, wiping his nose on his sleeve.
I don't know exactly, sir, but I heard him talking to my ma once. He said he knew where they hid their treasure, their biggest haul ever. He helped them bury it, but then he ran off with some of it for himself. He always feared they'd come looking for him eventually.
So, it seems the goblins are working with pirates to find some buried treasure. What do you do next?
I'll still help you regardless of your lying,
You say, your voice softening slightly.
but I'll require all the treasure your father stole in return for his safety.
The boy looks up at you, his eyes wide with surprise.
You will? But it's a lot of money, sir. Are you sure?
You nod grimly.
I'm sure. Your father stole from pirates. That makes him a thief. And that makes you a thief by association. I'm not going to let him get away with it. I'll get your parents back from the corsairs and goblins, but only if you give me the stolen gold.
The boy hesitates for a moment, glancing nervously towards the crevice where his parents were taken. Finally, he nods reluctantly.
Okay, sir. Okay, you can have it. It's buried near our farm, a few days' ride from here. I'll show you if you promise to save my parents.
I promise to do my best. Now, tell me everything you know about the corsairs. How many are there? What kind of weapons do they carry? And what about the goblins? How many of them are there?
The boy takes a deep breath and begins to recount everything he knows about the pirates and goblins, providing you with valuable information about their numbers, weapons, and tactics. You learn that there are about 6 corsairs and the 10 goblins, armed with swords, bows, and crude spears. Based on the boy's description, the goblins seem like your typical rabble, but the corsairs are a different story. They are ruthless fighters, and they're not afraid to use dirty tactics to get what they want. The pirates are probably the ones that are tracking the treasure and hired the goblins for muscle and tracking. The boy knows that his father is an experienced fighter and that his mother is a skilled healer. If they are still alive, they will be putting up a fight. Equipped with this information, you feel better prepared to face the challenges ahead. It sounds like you are planning to attack the Goblin Corsairs camp. Roll initiative.
All right, Tiberius, you rolled a 15 for initiative. Add your dexterity modifier to that. Your dexterity modifier is 1, so your initiative is 14. Now I will roll for the others. Emberden Corsair Leader, 9 Emberden Corsair. 1, 16 Emberden Corsair. 2, 12 Goblin. 1, 5 Goblin. 2, 2 Goblin. 3, 13 Goblin. 4, 11 Halfling Boy. 15, here is the turn order. 1, Emberden Corsair. 1, 162, Tiberius Lightbringer. 143, Halfling Boy. 154, Emberden Corsair 2, 125, Goblin 4, 116, Emberden Corsair, Leader 97, Goblin 3, 138, Goblin 1, 59, Goblin 2, 2. Okay, Tiberius, you are up second. You can see the goblins and corsairs inside the crevice. It is about 20 feet wide and 30 feet deep, so there is room to maneuver, but not much. They are huddled around a small fire, and your parents are tied to a tree in the center of the crevice. It appears your parents are still alive. Here is what you know from the Halfling Boy. There are 6 corsairs and 10 goblins, but you only see 4 goblins. You also see the Emberden Corsair leader. That leaves 2 corsairs and 6 goblins unaccounted for. They could be hiding, or they could have gone somewhere else. The corsairs are armed with swords, bows, and crude spears. The goblins are armed with swords, bows, and crude spears. What do you do, Tiberius? All right, Tiberius. You begin by casting Shield of Faith on yourself as a bonus action. A shimmering aura of divine energy surrounds you, bolstering your defenses. Your AC goes up to 13. Then, as your action, you imbue your crossbow bolt with divine power and cast Branding Smite, muttering the incantation as you knock the arrow into your light crossbow. The air around you crackles with holy energy. You take aim at the Corsair leader who is barking orders at the goblins. With a steady hand, you release the bolt, sending it hurtling towards its target. Roll an attack roll with your light crossbow. Your dexterity modifier is +1. Your proficiency bonus is +3. Your total bonus to this roll is +2. Apologies, Tiberius. I should have given you this information up front. Here are the stats for the light crossbow. Light crossbow. Damage, 1d8 piercing. Range, 83 on 20 feet. Properties, ammunition, range 83 on 20. Loading, two-handed now. Roll a 1d20 +2 to make an attack roll against the Corsair leader. With a roll of 8, your crossbow bolt flies wide of its mark, thudding harmlessly into the rock face beside the Corsair leader. He barks out a laugh, pointing in your direction.
Well, well, what have we here? Looks like we've got a tin can trying to be a hero.
He shouts, his voice dripping with mockery. As the bolt slams into the wall, the effect of Branding Smite ends, and is not applied to the Corsair since it did not hit. The Corsair leader has not taken any damage. Your Shield of Faith is active, increasing your AC to 13. The battle has begun. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair. 1. 16. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer. 14. 3. Halfling Boy. 15. 4. Emberden Corsair. 2. 12. 5. Goblin 4. 11. 6. Emberden's Corsair. Leader 9. 7. Goblin 3. 13. 8. Goblin 1. 9. Goblin 2. 2. It is now Emberden Corsair 1's turn. Corsair 1 draws his scimitar and charges toward you, closing the distance quickly. I will roll for his attack. Corsair 1 attack roll. 16. The Corsair lunges towards you, swinging his scimitar in a wide arc. With a roll of 16, the Corsair hits you. Roll for the damage. The scimitar deals 1d6 slashing damage.
The Corsair's scimitar finds its mark, slicing into your armor. With a roll of 2, you take 2 slashing damage. Your hit points go down to 39.
The halfling boy looks up at you with wide eyes, clearly frightened by the sudden violence.
Here's the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair. 1. 16. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer. 14. 3. Halfling Boy. 15. 4. Emberden Corsair. 2. 12. 5. Goblin. 4. 11. 6. Emberden Corsair. Leader. 9. 7. Goblin. 3. 13. 8. Goblin. 1. 5. 9. Goblin. 2. 2. It is now the halfling boy's turn. He cowers behind a large boulder, whimpering in fear. He will do nothing this turn. Next is Emberden Corsair 2's turn. Corsair 2 draws his scimitar and charges toward you, closing the distance quickly. I will roll for his attack. Corsair 2 attack roll. 12. The Corsair lunges towards you, swinging his scimitar in a wide arc. With a roll of 12, the Corsair does not hit you. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair. 1. 16. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer. 14. 3. Halfling Boy. 15. 4. Emberden Corsair. 2. 12. 5. Goblin. 4. 11. 6. Emberden Corsair. Leader. 9. 7. Goblin 3. 13. 8. Goblin 1. 5. 9. Goblin 2. 2. Next up is Goblin 4. He fires an arrow at you with his short bow. Goblin 4 attack roll 7. With a roll of 7, the goblin does not hit you. Next up is the Emberden Corsair leader. He draws his scimitar and charges toward you, closing the distance quickly. I will roll for his attack. Emberden Corsair leader attack roll 19. With a roll of 19, the Emberden Corsair leader hits you. Roll for the damage. The scimitar deals 1d6 slashing damage. The Corsair leader's scimitar finds its mark, slicing into your armor. With a roll of 2, you take 2 slashing damage. Your hit points go down to 37. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair 1. 162. Tiberius Lightbringer 143. Halfling Boy 154. Emberden Corsair 2. 125. Goblin 4. 116. Emberden Corsair Leader 97. Goblin 3. 138. Goblin 1, 59. Goblin 2, 2. Next up is Goblin 3. He fires an arrow at you with his short bow. Goblin 3, attack roll 10. With a roll of 10, the goblin does not hit you. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair 1, 162. Tiberius Lightbringer, 143. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair 2, 125. Goblin 4, 116. Emberden Corsair Leader, 97. Goblin 3, 138. Goblin 1, 59. Goblin 2, 2. Next up is Goblin 1. He fires an arrow at you with his short bow. Goblin 1 attack roll 6. With a roll of 6, the goblin does not hit you. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair 1, 162. Tiberius Lightbringer, 143. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair. 2. 125. Goblin. 4. 116. Emberden Corsair, Leader 97. Goblin 3, 138. Goblin 1, 59. Goblin 2, 2. Next up is Goblin 2. He fires an arrow at you with his short bow. Goblin 2, attack roll. 15. With a roll of 15, the goblin hits you. Roll for the damage. The short bow deals 1d6 piercing damage. The goblin's arrow finds its mark, piercing into your armor. With a roll of 6, you take 6 piercing damage. Your hit points go down to 31. You are now surrounded by 3 corsairs and 4 goblins. Here is the turn order. Emberden Corsair, 1, 162. Tiberius Lightbringer, 143. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair, 2, 125. Goblin, 4, 116. Emberden Corsair, Leader, 97. Goblin Hatter 3, 138. Goblin 1, 59. Goblin Ser 2, 2. Tiberius, it is your turn. What do you do? All right, Tiberius. You scramble up the side of the crevice, ignoring the attacks of opportunity from the enemies surrounding you. As you climb, the corsairs and goblins take wild swings at you, but you manage to avoid their blows. You reach the top of the crevice and begin to shove large boulders over the edge, sending them crashing down onto the enemies below. To see if you succeed in crushing the goblins, roll a strength athletics check. Your strength modifier is +3. After your roll, I will also have each goblin make a dexterity saving throw to see if they can avoid the boulders. Roll a 1d20 +3 for your strength athletics check. Let me know the total. You're looking for the combat system beta. It's a neat feature on AI Realm that can track HP, turn order, and even show your dice rolls right on the screen. If you want to use it, you can enable it in the settings menu, the little cogwheel icon in the chat interface. Just click on that, and you should find an option to turn on the combat system. Once it's on, your rolls will automatically appear in a more visual format. For now, though, since you haven't enabled it yet, please go ahead and roll a 1d20 +3 for your strength athletics check. Let me know the total. With a powerful heave, Tiberius, you manage to dislodge a cluster of loose boulders from the top of the crevice. They rumble, then begin to tumble down, picking up speed as they crash towards the unsuspecting goblins below. Now let's see which of those little blighters are quick enough to get out of the way. Each goblin needs to make a dexterity saving throw. Goblin 1. Dexterity save 13. He ducks and rolls just in time, narrowly avoiding a crushing rock. Goblin 2, Dexterity be 6. Too slow, you useless piece of vermin. Goblin 3, Dexterity, save 18. He springs to the side with surprising agility, a boulder scraping his ear. Goblin 4, Dexterity, save 2, you absolute donut. A massive boulder slams down directly onto Goblin 2 and Goblin 4, crushing them instantly with a sickening crunch. A spray of green blood and gore splatters across the crevice floor. 2 less pests to worry about. The remaining 2 goblins, along with the Corsairs, stare up at you with a mixture of shock and rage. The Corsair leader screams,
You'll pay for that, you overgrown dwarf. Get him!
You've certainly made an impact, but you're now on top of the crevice, potentially exposed, and the remaining enemies are furious. Here is the updated turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair, 1, 16. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer, 14. Your turn ended with the boulder push. 3. Halfling Boy, 15. 4. Emberden Corsair, 2, 12. 5. Goblin, 4. Deceased. 6. Emberden Corsair, Leader, 9. 7. Goblin 3, 13. 8. Goblin 1, 5. 9. Goblin 2, Deceased. It is now Emberden Corsair 1's turn again. He lets out a frustrated yell and readies his scimitar, but he's still at the bottom of the crevice. He looks around, then spots a rough path leading up the side, though it's not where you climbed. He starts scrambling up, shouting,
You won't escape, dwarf.
Next is the Halfling Boy. He's still cowering behind a boulder at the bottom, wide-eyed from the spectacle. He doesn't move. Next is Emberden Corsair 2. He's still at the bottom of the crevice, looking up at you with a snarl. He takes out a hand crossbow and aims at you. Emberden Corsair 2. Attack roll 17. With a roll of 17, the Corsair's bolt flies true. It strikes you. Roll for damage, 1d6 piercing damage. The hand crossbow bolt thuds against your armor, finding a weak point. With a roll of 3, you take 3 piercing damage. Your hit points are now 28. That's a nasty shot. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair 1, 16. Scrambling up the crevice side. Tiberius Lightbringer, 143. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair 2, 125. Goblin, 4. Deceased, 6. Emberden Corsair, Leader, 97. Goblin 3, 138. Goblin 1, 59. Goblin 2, Deceased. Next up is the Emberden Corsair Leader. He's still at the bottom of the crevice, enraged by your boulder attack. He bellows,
You think that's going to stop us, you overgrown pebble? We'll flay you alive.
He pulls out his own hand crossbow and aims it at you. Emberden Corsair Leader, attack roll, 19. Another bolt screams through the air. With a roll of 19, the Corsair Leader hits you squarely. Roll for damage, 1d6 piercing damage. The Corsair leader's bolt slams into your chest, the impact jarring you. With a roll of 3, you take 3 piercing damage. Your hit points drop to a worrying 25. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair, 1, 16. Scrambling up the crevice side almost halfway up. Tiberius Lightbringer, 143. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair, 2, 125. Goblin, 4. Deceased, 6. Emberden Corsair. Leader, 97. Goblin, 3, 138. Goblin, 1, 59. Goblin, 2. Deceased. Next up is Goblin 3. He knocks an arrow with shaky hands, aiming up at you from the crevice floor. Goblin 3, attack roll, 8. The arrow whizzes past your ear, missing widely. This goblin seems a bit more terrified than the others after witnessing his comrades get pancaked. Next up is Goblin 1. He also tries to take a shot at you with his short bow. Goblin 1, attack roll, 11. Another arrow sails past, clattering against the rocks behind you. It seems these 2 remaining goblins are struggling to hit a target from below. Here is the turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair 1, 162. Tiberius Lightbringer, 143. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair 2, 125. Goblin 4, deceased 6. Emberden Corsair Leader, 97. Goblin 3, 138. Goblin 1, 59. Goblin 2, deceased. Tiberius, it is your turn. You are currently on top of the crevice with Emberden Corsair 1 halfway up the side and Emberden Corsair 2, the Emberden Corsair leader, Goblin 1, and Goblin 3 all still at the bottom. The 2 halfling parents are still tied to a tree in the center of the crevice floor. What would you like to do? Hold on a minute, you donut. You're trying to cast Shield of Faith on the party? That spell only works on one creature, not the whole bloody lot. And you've already got Shield of Faith active on yourself, giving you an AC of 13, remember? You can't stack it, you bloody idiot. Now, let's get your head straight. You can either maintain your current Shield of Faith on yourself, or you can drop it and cast it on someone else. All right, Tiberius, that's more like it. Finally, some proper thinking. You let out a roar, a battle cry that echoes through the narrow crevice. You don't hesitate, launching yourself from the top of the crevice, a gleaming armored missile aimed directly at the Emberden Corsair leader below. To see if you land squarely on the bastard and avoid taking any fall damage yourself, roll a 1d20 plus 3 for a strength and athletics check. This isn't just a jump, it's a controlled dive onto a moving target. Let me know the total. Right, you're not completely useless, are you? With a grunt of effort and a surprising amount of grace for a fully armored dwarf, you execute a controlled dive, then your strength and want athletics. Check of 14 is just enough for you to pinpoint your landing. You don't just jump, you plunge, your entire weight coming down on the unsuspecting Emberden Corsair leader. He looks up just as your armored boots slam into his chest with a sickening crunch. He cries out, a choked gasp as the air is forced from his lungs. He collapses to the ground, your weight pinning him there. Now, as you land, you immediately bring your Morningstar down in a vicious arc, aiming directly for his head. Roll a 1d20 plus 5 for your attack roll with your Morningstar. Strength modifier plus 3, proficiency bonus plus 2. Then, roll 1d8 plus 3 for your Morningstar damage. If you hit, you can also use Divine Smite if you choose to, spending a spell slot to add extra radiant damage. Let me know if you want to use that. Yes, that's how you do it. Your Morningstar, imbued with righteous fury, smashes down with a critical hit directly onto the Corsair leader's face. There's a sickening crack as his skull gives way under the immense impact. The air crackles with divine energy as you channel your divine smite. Let's get this right, you absolute monster. A critical hit means you roll double the damage dice for your weapon. So that's 2d8 for the Morningstar, plus your strength modifier of plus 3. And since you're using Divine Smite, you'll add even more radiant damage. A first-level spell slot adds 2d8 radiant damage, and a second-level spell slot adds 3d8 radiant damage. Which level spell slot would you like to expend for your Divine Smite? Once you tell me, roll the total damage. Morningstar, roll 2d8. Divine Smite, first level, roll 2d8. Divine Smite, second level, roll 3d8. Then add your plus 3 strength modifier to the total. Tell me your spell slot choice and then your total damage roll. Fantastic. A critical hit and a second-level divine smite. The Morning Star, empowered by your divine fury, doesn't just strike the Corsair leader's head, it obliterates it. Your boots pin his chest, and then with a sickening wet crunch and a flash of holy light, his head explodes in a burst of blood, bone, and radiant energy. He doesn't even have time to scream. He just goes limp, a grotesque, headless corpse beneath your armored boots. Finally, some actual damage. That's how you deal with scum, you hear me? I shout, a satisfied smirk on my face. The remaining 2 goblins shriek in terror, dropping their short bows and trying to scramble away. Emberden Corsair 2 stares, momentarily stunned, while Emberden Corsair 1, halfway up the crevice wall, nearly loses his grip in shock. The halfling boy, who was trying to untie his parents, freezes, wide-eyed, then stares at you with a mixture of horror and awe. His parents, still bound, look equally stunned. Here is the updated turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair. 1:16, scrambling up the crevice side. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer. 14. Your turn ended with the attack. 3. Halfling Boy. 154. Emberden Corsair. 2. 125. Goblin. 4. Deceased. Say. Emberden Corsair. Leader. Deceased. Son. Goblin. 3. 13. Panicked. 8. Goblin. 1. Fought 5. Panicked. 9. Goblin. Tipton 2. Deceased. It is now Emberden Corsair 1's turn again. Seeing his leader's grisly end, he curses loudly, then scrambles the rest of the way up the crevice wall, turning to face you from the top, his scimitar now drawn. He's clearly rattled, but still intends to fight. Next is the halfling boy. He quickly resumes his efforts to untie his parents, though his hands are trembling. Next is Emberden Corsair 2. He lets out a roar of rage at the death of his leader, pulls out his scimitar, and charges at you from the bottom of the crevice. Emberden Corsair 2. Attack roll 17. With a roll of 17, he lunges forward, managing to hit you even as he charges. Roll for the damage. The scimitar deals 1d6 slashing damage. Six? You're still taking hits even after a performance like that. You take 6 slashing damage from Emberden Corsair 2's desperate lunge. Your HP is now down to 19. Here is the updated turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair. 1:16. Now on top of the crevice, scimitar drawn, facing you. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer. 14. 3. Halfling Boy. 15. Feverishly working on his parents' bonds. 4. Emberden Corsair. 2. 12. Just attacked you, still at the bottom of the crevice. 5. Goblin. 4. Deceased. 6. Emberden Corsair Leader. Deceased. 7. Goblin. 3. 13. 8. Goblin 1. 5. 9. Goblin 2. Deceased. Now it's Goblin 3's turn. He takes one look at the headless corpse of the Corsair leader and the enraged Corsair 2, then back at you, a giant, furious dwarf covered in what used to be a man's brains. He drops his short sword and with a terrified squeal turns tail and dashes away, scrambling up the least steep side of the crevice, desperate to escape. Then it's Goblin 1's turn. He seems to follow his comrade's lead, his eyes wide with fear. He too drops his weapon and scampers off, trying to flee the scene as fast as his little goblin legs can carry him. It's clear these two have had enough. Here is the updated turn order. 1. Emberden Corsair, 1. 16. 2. Tiberius Lightbringer, 14. 3. Halfling Boy, 15. 4. Emberden Corsair 2, 12. 5. Goblin, 4. Deceased. 6. Emberden Corsair, Leader, deceased. 7. Goblin 3, fleeing. 8. Goblin 1, fleeing. 9. Goblin 2, deceased. Tiberius, it's your turn. You're at the bottom of the crevice, standing over the remains of the Corsair leader, with Emberden Corsair 2 just having struck you. Emberden Corsair 1 is now at the top of the crevice, scimitar drawn, looking down at you. The halfling boy is still trying to untie his parents near the center of the crevice floor. What would you like to do next?
Right, you're not pulling any punches, are you?
You plant your heavy, armored boot firmly on the now headless chest of the Emberden Corsair leader. It's a grisly, brutal display. You then bellow, your voice a thunderous growl that echoes off the crevice walls.
For those who wish to live, I suggest you leave now. As for the rest of you, you are all dead.
The two fleeing goblins, already halfway up the crevice wall, don't even look back. They scramble with renewed, terrified urgency, vanishing over the top and out of sight, clearly having taken your suggestion to heart. You then pivot, your eyes locking onto Emberden Corsair 2, who is the only remaining hostile at the bottom of the crevice with you. You grip your Morning Star in both hands, an expression of grim determination on your face, and surge forward, bringing the heavy, spiked head of your weapon around in a powerful, two-handed arc aimed right for his guts. Roll a 1d20 plus 5 for your attack roll with your Morning Star. Strength modifier plus 3, proficiency bonus plus 2. Then roll 1d8 plus 3 for your Morning Star damage. If you hit, tell me if you want to use Divine Smite again and at what spell slot level. Once that's resolved, you'll then take a defensive stance with your shield and cast Cure Wounds on yourself. That will be your bonus action for healing. First, give me that attack roll and damage for the Morning Star.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Your Morning Star slams into Emberden Corsair 2's stomach with a sickening thwack, punching through his leather armor. He doubles over, a pained gasp escaping his lips. You've already rolled 6 for your Morning Star damage, plus your +3 strength modifier, making it 9 points of piercing, bludgeoning damage before the smite. Now you want to use Divine Smite again? Excellent. Which level spell slot would you like to expend for this Divine Smite? A first level spell slot adds 2d8 radiant damage, and a second level spell slot adds 3d8 radiant damage. Once you tell me the spell slot level, roll the additional damage dice for the Divine Smite. Don't add your strength modifier again for the smite damage. After that, you'll cast Cure Wounds on yourself as a bonus action. For Cure Wounds, you roll 1d8 plus your Charisma modifier plus the spell slot level. Since you are level 5, you have 3rd level spell slots. Which level slot are you using to cast Cure Wounds? Give me your Divine Smite spell slot level and roll. Then your Cure Wounds spell slot level and roll. Let's get this done. Whoa, hold your horses, you absolute mess. You're jumping around like a headless chicken. Let's do this properly, one step at a time. First, you hit Emberden Corsair 2 with your Morning Star, dealing 9 damage. Now for the Divine Smite, you said you're using a first level spell slot, which adds 2d8 radiant damage. You need to roll 2d8 for that Divine Smite. You haven't rolled for it yet. Then after that, you can take your bonus action to cast Cure Wounds. You said you'll use a 3rd level spell slot for Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds with a 3rd level spell slot heals for 3d8 plus your Charisma modifier. You rolled a 2 plus 3 = 5 for Cure Wounds, but that roll of 2 plus 3.5 is incorrect for a 3rd level spell slot. Your Charisma modifier is +2, not +3, and a 3rd level spell slot should be 3d8. So, let's try this again, you pillock. 1. Divine Smite. 1st level spell slot. Roll 2d8 for radiant damage. 2. Cure Wounds. 3rd level spell slot. Roll 3d8 plus 2, your Charisma modifier, for healing. Give me those 2 separate rolls, and let's get this finished. Don't mess it up. Right. Good, a clear roll for the smite. Your Morning Star is already lodged in Emberden Corsair 2's gut, and then a blinding flash of radiant energy erupts from your weapon, tearing through his torso. With your divine smite roll of 10, that's 2d8, combined with the 9 damage from your Morning Star, 6 plus 3 Estra, that's a grand total of 19 damage. Emberden Corsair 2 lets out a strangled, gurgling scream as the holy light incinerates his insides. He staggers backward, eyes wide with a mixture of pain and disbelief, clutching at his burning stomach before collapsing to the ground, utterly lifeless. Another one bites the dust. There. That's how you deal with a problem. Now heal up, you're looking a bit ragged, I snap. Now for your bonus action. You raise your shield, a quick prayer to Tyre on your lips, and a warm golden light washes over you as you cast Cure Wounds using a 3rd level spell slot. You need to roll 3d8 plus 2 for your Cure Wounds healing. What's the total for your healing? Excellent. A solid heal. A warm golden light washes over you, soothing your wounds. With a roll of 9 for the dice and your +2 charisma modifier, you heal for 11 hit points. Your HP is now back up to a much healthier 30. There, much better. Don't look so like a fresh recruit now, do you, I remark, a hint of grudging approval in my voice. The crevice is now eerily quiet. Emberden Corsair 1 is still at the top, frozen in place, staring down at the carnage. He was the only one left standing, apart from the fleeing goblins. Seeing both his leader and his comrade brutally dispatched by your hand, he quickly decides this fight isn't worth his life. With a final, terrified glance, he turns and sprints away, vanishing over the edge of the crevice like the others. The fight is over. Here is the final turn order, with all hostile threats neutralized or fled. 1. Emberden Corsair, 1. Fled 2. Tiberius Lightbringer, 14. Your turn has ended. Halfling Boy, 154. Emberden Corsair, 2. Deceased, 5. Goblin 4. Deceased, 6. Emberden Corsair Leader, deceased, 7. Goblin 3. Fleeing, 8. Goblin 1. Fleeing, 9. Goblin 2. Deceased. The halfling boy, his hands shaking, has finally managed to untie his parents. His father, a burly, weathered man with a grim set to his jaw, slowly rubs his wrists, his eyes fixed on you. His mother, a smaller, wiry woman, immediately pulls her son into a tight embrace, burying her face in his hair, tears silently streaming down her sand-streaked cheeks. Both of them look utterly shell-shocked by the brutal display. The air in the crevice is thick with the coppery scent of blood and the faint, acrid smell of burnt flesh where the Corsair leader's head once was. The bodies of the Corsairs lie broken and still. You stand amidst the grim aftermath, your armor still gleaming, your morning star now slick with blood and brain matter. What would you like to do, Tiberius? Right, you're not wasting any time, are you? Straight to the spoils.
You point a bloodstained finger at the now free halfling family.
All right, you lot. Don't just stand there gawking like a bunch of raw recruits. We've got work to do. Get over here and start looting these worthless bastards. Every coin, every trinket, every scrap of useful gear, pile it all up, right here where I can see it, and don't even think about pocketing anything, you hear me? I'll know.
Your gaze is sharp, cutting, leaving no doubt about your suspicions. The halfling father, his eyes still wide with the shock of what he just witnessed, flinches at your harsh tone. He looks at his wife, then at his son, before slowly nodding.
Aye, Sir Knight. We'll help. Just give us a moment.
His voice is a little shaky, a mix of fear and resignation. The mother pulls her son tighter for a moment longer, then reluctantly releases him, both of them moving with slow, hesitant steps toward the nearest goblin corpse. The three of them, still visibly shaken, begin the unpleasant task of searching the deceased goblins and corsairs. The father is methodical, if a bit grim, while the mother seems to shrink from the task, her movements jerky. The boy, surprisingly, seems to recover quicker, his fear slowly replaced by a sense of morbid curiosity as he peers over his father's shoulder. You watch them like a hawk, your eyes scanning their every move. After a few tense minutes, they've gone through the 4 dead goblins and the 2 deceased corsairs, dragging their meager findings into a small heap near your feet. From the 4 goblins they've gathered, 4 crude short swords, 2 short bows and quivers with a total of 15 arrows. A pouch containing 7 7p silver pieces. Another pouch with 3 cc copper pieces. A small grimy leather bag with 5 GP gold pieces. From the 2 Emberden corsairs, including the leader, 2 finely crafted scimitars. 2 hand crossbows with a total of 12 bolts. A battered compass. A water skin still mostly full. A heavy leather pouch containing 23 GP and 10 spiwaru A. Small, tarnished silver ring with a faded skull emblem from the leader. The pile is laid out on the dusty ground. The halfling family stands back a respectful distance, their eyes darting between you and the collected items.
What would you like to do, Tiberius? Ha! A bit of generosity, are we? Not entirely heartless then, you brute.
You stoop down, pick up the 10 silver pieces from the pile, and toss them towards the family. The coins land with a jingle in the dust near the father's feet. He stares at them, then slowly looks up at you, a flicker of surprise and cautious gratitude in his eyes.
Listen here.
You gruffly state, your voice still firm but lacking the previous menace.
This desert is a dangerous place, filled with all sorts of worthless scum, as you've just seen. And those Emberden corsairs, they'll likely be back, looking for what was stolen, or for you. It's not safe for you to travel alone.
You pause, letting your words sink in, then continue.
I won't charge you for saving your pathetic hides from those blithering idiots, but in return for escorting you to safety, I'll need a place to rest my head and a decent meal. You can point me towards wherever you're headed.
The halfling father, wiping sweat from his brow, looks at the coins, then at you. His initial fear seems to be replaced by a more complex emotion. Relief, perhaps, and a touch of something unreadable.
Thank you, Sir Knight, truly, thank you.
He says, his voice gaining a little more strength. He gestures vaguely towards the west, in the direction from which the boy originally ran.
Our farm is a few days' ride from here, in the foothills near the Givani Delta. That's where the rest of the treasure is buried, as my boy mentioned. It's a small place, but we'd be honored to offer you our hospitality for as long as you need. A warm bed, a hot meal. Whatever we have, it's yours. Considering what you've done, it's the least we can offer.
His wife, still holding their son, steps forward slightly, a tentative, grateful smile touching her lips.
Please, Sir Knight, we are in your debt. Our home is yours.
What do you say, Tiberius? Do you accept their offer and prepare to travel with them? Finally, some bloody laughter. You looked like you'd swallowed a goblin whole for a moment there.
You let out a booming, hearty laugh that echoes through the crevice, a stark contrast to the grim silence that had just settled. A wide, genuine smile cracks across your face, making your burly features light up.
Of course, let's go. A warm bed and a hot meal? That's music to my ears.
The halfling family stares, momentarily stunned by your sudden shift in demeanor. The father's jaw drops slightly. Then he lets out a nervous chuckle, a wave of relief washing over his face. The mother's tentative smile broadens into a genuine, if still a little wary, grin. The boy, catching on to the lighter mood, lets go of his mother's hand and looks up at you with renewed awe.
Right then, Sir Knight, this way!
The father says, gesturing out of the crevice and back towards the winding path.
It'll be a few days' journey, but we can make good time if we stick together.
You gather up your remaining spoils, the Corsair's weapons and gold, leaving the crude goblin gear and their bodies where they lie. The family gives the gruesome scene a wide berth as you lead them out of the crevice. The sun is beginning its slow descent towards the western horizon, painting the arid landscape in hues of orange and purple. The air, though cooling, still carries the dry heat of the desert. The path from the crevice leads back the way the boy came, a narrow trail through rocky outcrops that eventually opens up onto a slightly less treacherous but still wild stretch of the Merchant's Pass. As you walk, the halfling father, whose name you learn is Barnaby, becomes a bit more talkative now that the immediate threat is gone and you're not glowering at him.
Thank you again, Sir Knight. Tiberius, if I may. My name's Barnaby. This is my wife, Malara, and our boy, Pip. We thought we were done for, truly. Those corsairs, they've been relentless. After I tried to make a new life for us, they wouldn't let it go.
He glances nervously over his shoulder as if expecting them to reappear.
We were on our way back from collecting some herbs near the Oasis of Serenity when they ambushed us. Just like Pip said, they're obsessed with finding that lost treasure, as they call it. Barnaby only ever took what was owed to him, mind.
She adds a defiant glint in her eye. The desert stretches out before you, vast and indifferent. The sun sinks lower, casting long, stark shadows across the sand and rock. You can feel the chill of night beginning to creep in. What would you like to do or say as you begin your journey with Barnaby, Malara, and Pip? You nod, your smile fading into a more thoughtful expression as you address Barnaby.
It's a harsh lesson, Barnaby. I'm sorry you had to go through it, but you must be careful with goblins and pirates. They're treacherous, the lot of 'em. Sometimes it's best to just turn tail when things go wrong, especially with a wife and young boy depending on you.
You gesture back towards the crevice.
I'm glad I was able to help, but next time you might not be so lucky, sir.
Your tone is firm, a lecture hidden within your concern. Barnaby looks down at his dusty boots, a grim set to his mouth.
Aye, Sir Knight, you speak the truth. I thought I could handle them. Thought I could outsmart them, just like I did when I left the Corsairs. But I was foolish. Never again. I swear it.
He glances at Malara and Pip, a look of deep regret in his eyes. Malara squeezes his arm reassuringly. Pip, however, pipes up.
But you beat them up real good, Sir Knight. You crushed 2 goblins and made the others run away.
He looks up at you with shining eyes, clearly more impressed than chastened. The last sliver of the sun dips below the horizon, plunging the desert into twilight. The air grows noticeably colder, and the vast expanse of the night sky begins to emerge, already glittering with countless stars. The path ahead is now barely visible, just a faint trace in the gathering gloom. Barnaby points to a cluster of larger boulders and a shallow, sandy depression a little ways off the main path.
We should make camp soon, Tiberius. We can't travel through this desert at night. It's too easy to lose the trail, and the nocturnal creatures are even more aggressive than the day ones. There's a decent spot just up ahead. Should be sheltered enough for a small fire.
What would you like to do, Tiberius? Right, good thinking. Night in the desert is a different beast altogether, you hear me?
You nod decisively.
Agreed, Barnaby. We'll make camp here. Each of us will take turns staying up, keeping watch for whatever scurries in the dark, snakes, scorpions, or anything worse that decides to poke its nose where it doesn't belong.
You cast a stern look at the halfling family.
I'll take the first watch. But first, let's gather whatever tinder and firewood we can find. A fire will keep the worst of the wildlife at bay, but it's a double-edged sword. It can also attract unwanted attention. So we stay awake and we stay vigilant. No snoozing on my watch.
Barnaby and Malara quickly agree, their faces etched with newfound caution. Pip, however, looks a little disappointed at the mention of staying awake, but his parents quickly shush him. The four of you spend the next half hour combing the immediate area for anything flammable. The desert isn't exactly brimming with timber, but you manage to scrounge up a decent pile of dried-out shrubs, thorny branches, and sun-baked animal droppings, enough to sustain a small, crackling fire for a few hours. Barnaby, with surprising efficiency, manages to get a fire going in the sheltered depression, coaxing a few sparks into a small flame that quickly grows, casting dancing shadows around the makeshift camp. The warmth is a welcome relief from the rapidly chilling desert air. Malara unpacks a simple, dried meat and hardtack meal from their travel pack, offering portions to everyone. It's not a gourmet meal by any stretch, but it's filling and warms the belly. You sit by the fire, shield.
Right, a torch, eh? A bit of light can reveal a lot or make you a bigger target depending on who's out there. You're certainly not going to be caught napping.
You stand up, take a sturdy piece of kindling from the fire, and ignite it, creating a sputtering torch that casts flickering light into the immediate darkness. As you prepare to patrol, you state your watch schedule to the sleeping family, loud enough for them to hear when they wake.
All right, listen up, you lot. When you wake, we'll operate on 2-hour increments. One of us awake, the others sleep. Keep that fire stoked and your eyes peeled.
With that, you begin to circle the perimeter of your small camp, the torch held high. The flame dances, illuminating patches of sand and rock while casting exaggerated shadows that seem to stretch and shrink with every step. You scan the inky blackness beyond the firelight, listening intently to the subtle sounds of the desert night. Roll a 1d20, 1 for your wisdom perception check. Let me know the total.
A 1? Are you even trying, you donkey? You're supposed to be vigilant, not blind. That's a pathetic display of awareness.
Your torch sputters, casting more shadows than light, and despite your best efforts, your eyes seem to glide right over the subtle details of the desert night. The vast, inky blackness beyond the firelight is just that, an impenetrable void. You circle the small perimeter of the camp, your heavy armor clanking softly with each step. The distant howls and chirps of unseen creatures seem to blend into a monotonous hum. You scan the rocks, the sparse clumps of desert scrub, the endless stretch of sand, but you perceive absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. No glint of an eye, no disturbed pebble, no unusual scent carried on the night breeze. The desert seems utterly still and silent, save for the crackling fire and the vague symphony of the wilderness. Your 2-hour watch begins seemingly uneventfully.
What would you like to do for the remainder of your watch, Tiberius? Right. You're not going to stand there all night like a flaming idiot, are you? Sensible decision. Pass the buck.
2 hours crawl by in the profound desert silence, broken only by the crackle of your dwindling fire and the distant, unsettling calls of unseen creatures. Despite your abysmal perception, nothing overtly hostile reveals itself. The stars continue to blaze with indifferent brilliance above. As the agreed-upon time arrives, you carefully step over to where the halfling family is huddled. You give Barnaby a firm, but not overly harsh, nudge with your boot.
Barnaby, wake up, you lazy sod. Your turn.
You whisper, loud enough to stir him, but not to startle any potential nearby threats. Barnaby jolts awake with a soft grunt, blinking owlishly in the dim firelight. He rubs the sleep from his eyes, his wife, Malara, stirring beside him. Pip remains soundly asleep, oblivious.
Ah, yes, Sir Knight, Tiberius. Thank you for the watch.
Barnaby mumbles, shaking his head to clear the cobwebs. Malara slowly sits up, looking around with a weary but alert gaze. You quickly brief them.
Right. Your turn for 2 hours. Keep this fire going and don't take your eyes off the darkness. Wake me when it's time for us to move. Understand? No dallying.
Barnaby nods, reaching for a nearby piece of wood to stoke the flames.
Understood, Tiberius. We'll be vigilant.
You extinguish your torch, letting the remaining embers fall into the fire, and then move to a spot near the fire, settling down with your back against a large rock. Propping your shield beside you and keeping your morning star close, you prepare to get some much-needed rest. The desert night continues, now under the watchful eyes of the halfling parents. You drift off, trusting in their watch for now. Hours later, a gentle nudge wakes you. The stars have shifted, indicating the approach of dawn. Barnaby is standing over you, looking tired but alert.
Tiberius, Sir Knight, the sun will be rising soon. We've kept watch and it's been quiet. No sign of anything out there. Are you ready to continue our journey?
The air is still cold, but a faint hint of gray is beginning to touch the eastern horizon. The fire has dwindled to glowing embers.
What would you like to do, Tiberius? Right, a bit of foraging, eh? Smart. Can't march on an empty stomach. But finding water in this barren wasteland, that's going to be a tough nut to crack even for a seasoned adventurer like yourself.
You stretch, feeling the stiffness in your joints, and rise to your feet. The chill of pre-dawn still bites, but the faint glow in the east promises another scorching day.
Good work, Barnaby. Before we break camp, I'm going to take a quick look around. We need to find some breakfast, and more importantly, if there's any water nearby. This explorer's pack only carries so much, and this desert will drain you dry faster than a bad pint.
You gesture around the camp.
Malara, Barnaby, Pip, start packing up what you can, but keep the fire embers glowing. We might need them.
You set off from the immediate camp, your eyes now wide open, attempting to pierce the dim light of dawn. You scan the rocky outcrops, the sparse thorny bushes, and the sandy ground for any sign of movement, a scuttling lizard, a hopping desert hare, or any subtle indications of moisture, like a cluster of greener plants or faint trickles of dampness in the crevices.
Roll a 1d20, 1 for your wisdom perception check. Let me know the total. A 1 again? Are you blind or just utterly incompetent, you bloody buffoon? That's twice now you've managed to miss absolutely everything. You wouldn't find an elephant in a broom closet with those eyes.
Despite the rising light, which now casts a pale, weak glow over the desert, your attempts to spot anything useful are an absolute disaster. Your gaze sweeps over the landscape, but it's as if you're looking through a fog. You see nothing but the same endless Sandossan rock. No scuttling desert hare, no darting lizard, not even a beetle. The ground remains dry and cracked, the sparse vegetation withered and brown. There are no subtle shifts in the color of the earth, no glistening dew on a hidden leaf, no unusual patterns of growth that might indicate a hidden spring or even a damp spot. The desert is as unforgiving and barren as it was moments ago, and you've found absolutely nothing to suggest otherwise. You return to the camp a few minutes later, empty-handed, just as Barnaby and Malara are finishing packing up their meager belongings. Pip is rubbing the sleep from his eyes, looking much livelier with the approach of dawn. Barnaby looks up at you, a hopeful expression on his face.
Any luck, Tiberius? Find anything for breakfast or perhaps a water source? Our water skin's getting a bit light.
The faint hint of gray has turned into a soft orange in the east, painting the sky with the promise of another brutally hot day. The last embers of your fire fade as the sun's first rays touch the horizon. What do you tell Barnaby, and what would you like to do next, Tiberius?
Nothing? You're telling me you couldn't even spot a bloody pebble that looked slightly tastier than the others? What a waste of a search, you useless lump.
You shake your head, a frustrated grunt. Escaping your lips.
Unfortunately, Barnaby, I wasn't able to find anything, just more sun and rock. It's as barren as a goblin's wit out there.
You eye their waterskin with a concerned glance.
We should begin moving quickly before this sun gets to be a blistering inferno, especially with our lack of provisions. Keep your eyes peeled, all of you. We need to spot anything that looks like a goblin camp, a stray animal for food, or a source of water. But for now, we must travel on.
Barnaby's face falls a little at your news, but he nods grimly.
Right, Tiberius, you're right. No point wasting daylight. Let's get moving.
Malara tightens her grip on Pip's hand. Even the boy seems to understand the seriousness of the situation, his earlier playfulness subdued. With the last embers of your fire, now just a faint wisp of smoke. You shoulder your shield and morning star. The eastern sky is now a vibrant orange, and the first direct rays of the sun begin to sear the air. The vast, empty expanse of the Merchant's Pass stretches before you, a seemingly endless ocean of sand, rock, and sparse, hardy vegetation. Barnaby takes the lead, following the faint, winding path that he says will eventually take them towards the foothills bordering the Givani Delta. You fall in behind them, your heavy plate armor already beginning to warm under the relentless sun. The next few hours are a grueling march. The sun climbs higher, beating down with an intensity that seems to suck the moisture right out of your skin. The air shimmers over the hot sand, creating distorted mirages in the distance. The halfling family, though accustomed to the desert, shows signs of fatigue, their pace slowing. Pip, despite his earlier energy, now trudges along silently, occasionally looking up at his parents with tired eyes. You, too, feel the drain. Your heavy armor, usually a source of comfort and protection, now feels like a furnace, trapping the heat against your body. The metallic taste of thirst is starting to manifest in your mouth. Around midday, after several hours of relentless walking, Barnaby holds up a hand, his voice dry.
Tiberius, we should rest. Just for a little while. The heat, it's too much. There's a small cluster of rocks up ahead. Might offer a sliver of shade.
He points to a jagged cluster of dark, heat-blasted stones barely visible a quarter-mile away.
What would you like to do, Tiberius? Good. Sensible decision. No point marching yourselves into an early grave, is there?
You nod, the heat already making your brow slick with sweat beneath your helmet.
Agreed, Barnaby. Let's get to those rocks. We'll rest there until the sun starts to dip, then we push on.
The last quarter-mile to the rock cluster feels like an eternity. The ground is scalding, the air thick and stifling. Each step in your heavy plate armor is a testament to your endurance. Barnaby and Malara are visibly wilting, their faces pale and drawn. Pip is nearly leaning on his mother for support. Finally, you reach the cluster of dark, jagged rocks. It's not much, just a handful of large stones that cast a meager, shifting shadow on the ground. But it's enough to offer a small respite from the direct, punishing glare of the midday sun. You slump down in the narrow strip of shade, shucking your shield and morning star, letting them clatter against the rock. The halfling family collapses beside you, utterly exhausted. Barnaby pulls out their water skin, taking a small, measured sip before passing it to Malara, who offers a tiny amount to Pip. The water skin is now alarmingly light. The hours that follow are agonizing. The sun seems to bake the very air, and the heat radiating off the rocks is relentless. You spend the time conserving energy, taking small sips from your own water skin, which is also rapidly depleting. The silence is broken only by the occasional sigh of the wind or the distant, buzzing hum of unseen desert insects. Malara and Barnaby share quiet, concerned glances, their worry evident. Pip tries to sleep, but the heat seems to make it difficult. As the sun begins its slow, agonizing descent towards the western horizon, the direct intensity of the heat lessens, but the air remains warm and dry. Long, distorted shadows begin to stretch across the desert floor once more. Barnaby slowly pushes himself up, wincing as he stretches his cramped muscles.
Tiberius, it's still hot, but it's bearable now. We should try to cover some more ground before nightfall. The thought of a proper meal and a bed at the farm, it's keeping us going.
He looks at you, his eyes still weary, but holding a flicker of determination.
What would you like to do, Tiberius? Right, don't faff about. You want a perception check. Good. You're searching the immediate area for anything edible and any hint of water before everyone tries to get some sleep. Roll a 1d20 and tell me the result. Remember, your wisdom modifier is 1, so the total will be 1d20 result. 1. Tell me the final total and I'll tell you what you find. What did you roll?
Fine restorative decision, finally. Stop pretending you're a statue and get some rest. You tell Barnaby and Molara the plan. No wasting energy tonight. Staggered watches only if absolutely necessary. Everyone gets a few hours of sleep so you can push hard for the farm at first light. Pip curls against his mother. Barnaby nods and tries to settle. You take the first short watch, not because you want to, but because you actually did the sensible thing for once. You lean back against the warm rock, shield at your side, morning star within reach. The night air nips at your face, but it's merciful compared to the day's oven. You keep one eye open enough to notice anything obvious, but you don't waste energy prowling the dunes. The shallow depression you found will do for collecting any morning condensation. The thorny scrub can be checked quickly at dawn if you want something small to eat. Time passes. Your watch is quiet, no rustling more aggressive than a desert beetle, no distant calls of goblins or boots on the sand. You rouse Barnaby after about 2 hours, then take your turn to sleep while he watches. He wakes you gently at prearranged time. The pale edge of dawn taints the eastern sky. The camp stirs. Waterskins are nearly empty but still clutched like holy relics. Pip is grumpy but awake. Molara rubs aching shoulders. Barnaby eyes the horizon and points toward a low line of scrub, and a faint trail he swears will cut down travel time to the farm. What would you like to do first as dawn breaks, and you prepare to push the last stretch toward the halfling farm? Scout ahead, take a quick look at the thorny scrub for small game. Attempt to collect any condensation from the shallow depression, or set out immediately. Right, finally. A bit of wisdom in that thick dwarven skull. Water first, then hustle. Don't waste a single drop. You quickly move to the shallow depression you spotted last night. Overnight, a small amount of condensation has indeed gathered. Not much, but enough to be precious. You carefully use a clean cloth from your explorer's pack to soak up the scant moisture, wringing it out into your nearly empty water skin. It only yields a few mouthfuls, but it's something. You share it equally among the 4 of you, just enough to wet parched throats and stave off the worst edge of dehydration. Right, listen up. You bark, your voice carrying authority in the crisp dawn air. We drink this and we move. No delays. Barnaby says he knows a shortcut. We take it. We push hard and we don't stop until we see that farm. Understood. The halflings nod grimly, the tiny bit of water having revived their spirits slightly. Pip even manages a determined look. Barnaby takes the lead, setting a brisk pace along a barely visible trail that cuts through the scrubland. This way, he says, his voice still hoarse but firm. It's rougher going, but it'll shave a few hours off our journey. True to his word, the path is more challenging, winding through narrow ravines and over rocky outcrops, but it feels like you're making progress. The sun begins its ascent, but the morning chill still lingers, making the travel bearable. After several hours of hard marching, just as the heat is beginning to become oppressive again, Barnaby crests a small rise and stops dead in his tracks. A wide, relieved smile breaks across his weathered face. There, he exclaims, pointing, "Look, home." In the distance, nestled in the foothills that mark the beginning of the Givani Delta region, lies a modest halfling farm. A simple stone house with a thatched roof stands beside a small barn. A few scraggly trees offer meager shade, and you can just make out the glint of what might be a small well or cistern. It's not a grand castle, but after days in the desert, it looks like paradise. What would you like to do now that your destination is in sight? Right? You're not dead yet, are you? Get moving. That farm isn't going to walk over here and spoon-feed you. The sight of the farm gives all of you a final, desperate burst of energy. You push through the last stretch of dusty, sun-baked earth, your heavy armor feeling like it's made of lead, your throat screaming for water. Finally, you stagger into the small yard of the farm. The stone house is humble but sturdy, the thatched roof looking wonderfully shady. A small, fenced-in pasture holds a few scraggly goats, and a weathered wooden well with a bucket stands proudly near the front door. You stop, planting your hands on your knees for a moment, breathing heavily. You straighten up, looking at Barnaby, Molara, and Pip, all of them looking equally exhausted but utterly relieved. You wipe the sweat from your brow with the back of your gauntlet, leaving a smudge of dirt and grime. A rough, tired laugh escapes you. "We made it," you say, your voice raspy but filled with genuine emotion. "By Tyr's righteous hammer. We actually made it." Barnaby claps you on the arm, a gesture of pure gratitude. "We wouldn't have without you, Tiberius, thank you." Molara is already moving toward the well. "Water." She gasps, lowering the bucket with practiced haste. A moment later, the bucket emerges, dripping and cool. She brings it over, and for a few glorious minutes, there is no sound but that of four people drinking deeply, splashing water on their faces, and finally beginning to feel human again. The door to the house creaks open. An older halfling woman, her face lined with years and sun, peers out cautiously. She holds a stout walking stick like a weapon. "Barnaby, Molara, Pip, is that you? By the gods, we thought you were lost for good. And who is this?" she asks, her eyes narrowing slightly as they land on you. A massive, blood-stained dwarf in plate armor standing in her yard. Barnaby steps forward quickly. "Aunt Hilda." "It's us, and this is Sir Tiberius Lightbringer. He saved us from corsairs and goblins in the past. He's a friend." Aunt Hilda's expression softens from suspicion to awe. "Corsairs, goblins, saints preserve us. Come in, all of you. You look half dead. I've got stew on the fire and fresh bread." She ushers you all inside her cozy, cluttered home. The smell of herbs, baking bread, and a simmering pot of stew hits you like a physical blow. It is quite possibly the most wonderful thing you've ever smelled. What would you like to do now that you've reached the safety and hospitality of the farm?